Good evening. Thank you so much for coming. Please join me in prayer. Lord, we thank you so much for this time to get together to get to know what's going on in Washington. Thank you so much for Doug's service to our area. Lord, we pray that your hand would be upon not only all the way from the top, President Trump, all the way through Congress, and all the way down to elected boards and council members as well, God. We thank you for your hand upon this community. We're excited for this evening, and we pray your presence and your peace upon this place, and thank you so much for the rain. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you, Melissa. If you'll please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance. Thank you. Please be seated.
Thank you, Sheriff. Thank you, Councilwoman Hunt, Sheriff Masenko. We greatly appreciate it. Thank you to all of our law enforcement officers tonight to make this a safe place, and we appreciate greatly their service everywhere else as well. Thanks to the folks at Sequoia Middle School for allowing us to be here and use their venue here tonight, so appreciate that greatly. It's a nice place, isn't it? So we have to stick a little closer to our deadline tonight of allowing them to get their school back so they can set up for other things and clean up, etc. So we'll move quickly here. So again, I appreciate your turnout here for attending our town halls, and I'm glad to be able to have this one up here in Shasta County. And so what I ask as a courtesy is we have a lot of folks in Shasta, Tehama, Siskiyou, and some maybe the other mountain areas that haven't had a chance to be at a town hall. So I know there's some of you that are following our little band of merriment as we go along. So if you defer, allow the locals to get those questions and comments in, if you would, as a courtesy. We'd appreciate that. So you see the question line will start over there, and the comment line will start over here. So what we're going to do is, as the format's worked pretty well, is that for the comment folks, each person gets 60 seconds to make a comment on an issue they feel. And over here on the question side, 60 seconds to ask the question, and I'll try to be around 60 seconds in giving a good answer on that, okay? So I see them queuing up already, so it's good. Now, in order to have it be fair, right down front here, we have these cards. The yellow one will go about 15 seconds to go, and then the red one will mean 60 seconds is up, so that we can get to as many of your comments and questions and thought as possible. So we want to be fair to even us in Congress are timed in our committee as to how long we get to talk or question when we're doing a committee process. So it's a fair way, and we want to give the most possible people that opportunity. So, and again, I'm glad to be able to do this with you all. We've always had town halls going back to my days in the state assembly and state senate all over the district here in these Northern California counties, and so we're continuing that tradition because we want to hear from you. We want your comments. We want a constructive atmosphere where we can hear you. Some of them are a little more raucous than others. I got a really good vibe and a good feeling here tonight, don't you? This is going to be a good one. So let's be productive together and have a good time, and we'll all come out of here, because I think our common bond, no matter what our politics or philosophy is to make America as strong as it can be and as accessible as it can be, the most opportunity for everybody, and that's a win for all of us. Okay? So now let's start off. We'll do 2 comments per 1 question ratio. So let's do our first 2 on the comments here and light it off. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Ryan Duncanwood from Redding, California. I'm on the National SABE Board and the ARC of California Board. I have a few things I would like to talk to you about that is very near and dear to my heart. If we make any cuts to Medicaid or SSI, it will dramatically lower my quality of life. As you can see, I use a speaking device to speak and a wheelchair to get around. With the proposed Medicaid block grant or caps, that will cap what a state can spend on a person. If we cap what Medicaid can spend on a person, how will people with intellectual and developmental disabilities be able to get the equipment that we need to live a normal life? The federal and state Medicaid program is the major and sometimes the only source of funding for long-term supports and services that many people with intellectual and developmental disabilities rely on to live in the community. This effective and cost-efficient program allows people with intellectual and developmental disabilities to live and work among their neighbors. Most people with intellectual and developmental disabilities already don't have enough money to live on our own, and we have to live with 1 or 2 roommates. Now there is a proposal to cut people's SSI when more than one person with SSI live together. We are already barely getting by. Here's what needs to happen. Congress should reject any cuts to Social Security or SSI, including any proposals Congress should request a beneficiary impact statement on any proposal to change Social Security or SSI to look beyond budgetary issues to the impact on people's daily lives.
Okay. Ryan, thank you. Thank you. I'm sure you'll agree we'll give him a little extra room because he worked a little harder to get here, right? So we actually got, and I'll break my protocol this one time too and make a comment to his comment. He traveled all the way to Washington, D.C. We had a chance to meet just right outside the Capitol steps for a little bit there, and he gave me his presentation then. So God bless you. Hang in there, and we will work hard to make sure Social Security is saved long-term and achieve in the health care legislation things that are going to keep you where you need to be. Okay? Thank you for your effort to be here tonight. Okay.
Doug,
No.
I'm Jerry Jones from Redding, California. As a part of We the People and a taxpayer, I have the following concerns. Paul's insurance plan will give a $600 billion tax cut and take away $883 billion from the social programs. The average cut for the 0.9% will be $207,000 a year. The Trump family lavish lifestyle will cost the taxpayers over 4 years. The first month of presidency, his family travel was $11.3 million. President Obama only spent $12.1 million per year for 8 years. For Melissa and Barron to live at Trump Towers, it's costing $500,000 a day, $183 million for the year. In my opinion, Donald's first 100 days of presidency looks to me like the Robin Hood plan in reverse. Steal from the poor and give to the rich.
Thank you. Let's move over to our first question.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for coming out publicly and speaking to us. I wanted to ask you about the Sites Dam and the possibilities of that becoming a reality.
Okay. Is that the full length of your question? Okay, very good. We're working very hard on that to see it come to its goal as federal and state level legislators. You, the voters, voted for Proposition 1A, I think it was, just a few short years ago to ensure that we're going to continue to add to water storage in California. And so the California Water Commission will be soon allocating the dollars from that bond the voters approved to start that project. And so we think we have things pretty well lined up. The environmental should be pretty straightforward, pretty simple to get this actually going again. It's shameful how much water opportunity we've lost this year that could have been put into that. It also draws water away from those that might be affecting flood control systems farther down. You take it out of the river, you put it behind the dam, you got less flood water to deal with. I think the prospects are very good for achieving this and seeing this get started. I think the dollars will be allocated this year, and we'll do everything we can on the federal level to streamline the process so the environmental is done properly, but also quickly and not using extra dollars. I feel good about it.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Pollum. I live here in Redding, California. I have 2 comments for you. Thank you for coming and being here with us today. First off, I have been contacting your office, and in doing so also looked for videos and information about you online, including your the Congress, your website. As a Christian, I find it ridiculous that you have not repudiated the comments that the president has made regarding women, minorities, that is something that you should be thinking about doing as a Christian with ethics and morals. Second, I believe in Oroville you mentioned that there is no, you don't believe the Constitution addresses the separation of church and state. As a congressman, you need to read the Constitution and understand that it does separate church and state.
Thank you.
Hi, Congressman LaMalfa, fellow residents and friends. My name is Phaedra Mitchell, and I'm a retired 911 dispatcher. I recently retired due to post-traumatic brain injury. Most of you know that as PTSD. Currently in the division of OMB, there is a review and assessment period going on to see if 911 dispatchers should be reclassified as first responders, a protected class, just like police, fire, and EMS personnel. Currently, 911 dispatchers are classified as clerks and secretaries through OMB, therefore, the California classification is the same. That means I'm not able to go out and do a job as a secretary or a clerk. I did not want PTSD, but it happened. It happened from 18 and a half years of going from one screen using the write and run system to 4 screens plus a telephone system that also has a screen. It comes from having officers that have been shot, being short-staffed, working 16-hour days, sometimes for 10, 12, or 14 days in a row. It happens when you struggle for minutes or longer while an officer is being attacked and you have to wait for their backup to arrive. It happens when you cannot save a baby's life over a phone. And it happens when you take a phone call from your own family members. Or you try to save a 15-day-old baby who was overdosed by a mom who could not break the meth habit. What I am asking for you now is to back that current OMB reclassification to support that system that helps your family, the people in this room, and the officers, the EMS people, and the firefighters that serve our communities. I have tried for months to reach out to you via phone, through letters, and I have not been able to receive a phone call back directly from you. Your staff members have attempted to be helpful. However, they cannot tell me exactly where you stand on this issue. And I hope that you will reach out to the office of OMB and put your support behind this reclassification. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. I will personally review that. You make a great argument.
My name is Alicia, and I live in Vote in Cottonwood. My daughter works as a domestic violence counselor in Oroville. Her office is 4 blocks from the front of the R-Richvale Dam. Her life and the lives of thousands of others were threatened the day of that horrible evacuation when it looked like the dam might fail. In 2005, when you were in the Assembly, you voted no on the allocation of funds to fix the poorly designed spillway, as was recommended to you by several environmental groups. You and other large farm associates were and are still consumers of R-Richvale Dam water, and you would have been asked to put up the money for the dam. Now we're coming to you again to ask you for money for America to fix our infrastructure. Will you or will you not vote yes on fixing the infrastructure and spending the money when you voted no last time?
Thank you. I agree with that. This was a severe oversight on the behalf of those that were designing and inspecting and recommending to us to take no action on that emergency spillway. We got that from FERC, we got that from DWR. The expertise should lie with those engineers, not with all of us, and so obviously it didn't work out very well. Now, I would say that at least our emergency responders, probably sent by dispatchers, were able to secure the area around R-Richvale and below to make sure nothing bad happened. The emergency spillway structure itself is intact and solid, and dumping the water through the broken main spillway was the right call. And there was a wing and a prayer on that too, that it was going to continue working so they could dump that water. They had about a little over a foot they had to get down to just to quit using that one. So yes, we need to very seriously review what went on, why we're getting safety reports or inspection reports that said everything was cool. I will support funding for the infrastructure that is needed to upgrade that. Yes. I think we need to review all these dam safety issues, and if that's what it takes to get, we got to have it. We got to have spillways that are reliable. We got to have dams that are inspected that are reliable, and so yes, we need to fund that infrastructure. You're welcome.
Okay, thank you. Hi, my name's Mary Morin, and I'm from Reading, and I just wanted to thank you for all the years that you've served us. I'm very grateful for the decisions that you've made and are making, and I can only imagine what it's like to be a public servant when there's, just like being a dad or a mom in a family, there's only so much money to go around and there are a lot of needs. People perceive the government as the answer to many things or everything. And so I want you to know that there are those of us out here that recognize that government has a primary role of protecting people, but not to provide for all of their needs. So I just want to thank you again for all that you do. I wanted to bring some nice signs.
Let's give her time. Thank you.
I wanted to bring some nice signs that said thank you and you're doing a great job. I want you to know that we're out here praying for you, that we support you. We don't believe
please.
that
we're doing so well. We're doing so well.
There are a lot of us that don't believe the fake news and all the things that are said. A lot of things will be shared here tonight that just plain aren't true. So we're for you, Congressman. We love you.
Real quick, now, folks, we're doing really great here, okay? And let's, no matter which side, we want to give equal opportunity to everybody on whatever side of an issue they're on to finish their 60 seconds or 65, Well, let's try really hard to adhere to that and keep it fair so we don't see one particular view or another getting more than their second. So I would ask everybody, try to stay on that 60-second mark. And everybody, again, we're doing great. We're doing good. Let's just, when it's too noisy in the House of Representatives, we have to ask for, is the House in order? And let's keep it in order. Thank you.
Good evening, Congressman. My name is Lindsay. I was born in 1992 at Mercy Hospital, and 23 years later, I had my son there. I had a placental abruption, which means that my uterus and my placenta detached. It caused bleeding on my son's brain, and he was airlifted to UC Davis. When he was there, he received a treatment called cooling. It's very new in infants, but we've been doing it since 1993 with adults with brain injuries. They lower the temperature, and it allows the brain to heal all by itself without you having to work to breathe, to think, to eat, to maintain any other body parts, just to cool your brain, let it heal. He received almost $1 million worth of care through the ACA because after I had him, I couldn't work anymore. He's very tired, but he is still here with us. He receives funding through the ACA to have doctors and nurses come out to our home and monitor him and make sure that all of his development is on track. And if we lose the funding through the ACA, he might end up with an intellectual disability. He might end up with epilepsy. He might end up with a myriad of other complications.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Brooke McDonald. I've lived and voted in Reading for the last 10 years. I know people who voted for Trump or Gary Johnson or who wrote in Bernie or who simply didn't vote because they were worried that Hillary would lead us into World War III. If Trump asked you for approval to launch a preemptive strike in North Korea and China, Japan, or South Korea were opposed, would you vote yes or no?
First of all, the president does not have to ask Congress for the preliminary, under the Constitution, the first 60 days. After the 60 days is when...
You're eating into this nice lady's time. Use the signs, but don't yell out.
So the president has that ability to do those things initially, no matter who he or she is. But when the question does come to Congress, I will look at all the information at the time. I can't say what that looks like here. I'm not one that wants to vote for any kind of a war resolution generically, but when we have a situation, we have to use the information we have at hand. What is the threat to the U.S.? What is the threat to our allies as to how we make that decision? I think we've certainly seen enough wartime in recent years, and I think there's a lot of fatigue with that for Americans and especially our soldiers on the front lines. So it has to be something done very thoughtfully, and I wouldn't be right to try and give a straight answer on yes or no tonight to something that hasn't happened yet. Okay? But
hello, my name is Dennis Duncanwood. I believe that healthcare is a right, not a privilege, that we need to join the rest of civilized countries of the world and have a Medicare for all system, single payer. I wish you would support Senate Bill 562, which would bring single payer to California, which we all need because we should not have a profit-based medical care system. We have a medical system that doesn't care about what you eat, and we have a food system that doesn't care about your health. We need to improve the whole system, and it can't be done by gouging people for money who don't have it. It should be a right of theirs to have health care as long as they take care of themselves, and there should be incentives for taking care of themselves. So where do you stand on 562, single payer for California?
thank you.
Hi, my name is Daniel Moore, and I hope you never have to meet me in my professional setting. Every 15 minutes, a person dies of the opiate overdose here in America. Thousands of your constituents in Northern California access medicated assisted treatment. And the benefits are crucial to their recovery and to reduce the harm to the individual, their families, and to our communities. Many of these people are able to access this treatment through the PPACA. However, healthcare plan, we don't know what this new government's going to do. Please do not take this access away from all of the individuals that need it so desperately, because it saves lives. It saves people from going to prison. It just lowers the ability, or it lowers people's dying from something that doesn't need to happen. Don't take the ACA away.
My name is Jenny Abbey. I'm from Reading. You've been supportive of One Safe Place, the Women's Refuge in Reading. Shasta County has some of the highest per capita levels of domestic and child abuse in the state, with another horrific killing just this month. For the Week of the Young Child, First Five Shasta convened a regional meeting today to review more alarming statistics of adverse childhood experiences that put us well ahead of state and national averages for exposure to domestic violence, drug use, and mental illness. As a rape survivor myself, I was discouraged last year that you voted against reauthorizing the Violence Against Women Act. The act directly funds local programs like One Safe Place that can mean the difference between life and death for our most vulnerable citizens. What would it take for you to reconsider your objection to the Violence Against Women Act?
I'm glad to have this opportunity to answer this question in a public forum. And I was very torn on that legislation. Who wouldn't be for a bill called that? But what was brought to my attention was that there are constitutional protections for certain individuals that were accused of things in that would have run afoul of the Constitution and likely have been struck down, was what opinion I was given on that. So in another opportunity, now I did have another piece of legislation I was supporting by Darrell Issa, which would have done the same thing, only without the question on the constitutional protections for those accused on certain types of public land, or non-public land, excuse me, to have their equal protections. So it was a complicated issue on that. I was really torn on that legislation. The next time it comes around, I will very likely support it if there is an issue of not equal protections for all that are accused. That was really the hitch, because I've been a long-time supporter of prosecuting these violence, all this type of violence against women. I was a supporter of the Calcasa group in Sacramento when I was down there, where I was one of the few males out there actually taking a part in the rally and the press conference saying we need to do more about this and make sure that when women are assaulted that the prosecution happens, instead of them feeling like they're alone in this thing when maybe certain, the he said, she said thing doesn't get prosecuted. That's wrong. If you've known anybody that's ever been through this, it's not good. We need to uphold women, have them know that they are going to be fully respected if violence or rape has been committed against them, but it has to be the right kind of bill, because if it's going to blow up on a constitutional issue, you've actually lost ground on that. That was my view on it. Maybe I was wrong. Okay, thank you. But it's a really thoughtful approach I'm trying to take to this legislation. I don't want it to blow up on us because maybe it wasn't written quite right, okay? Okay, thank you.
Mr. LaMalfa, thank you for joining us in Reading. My name is Carrie Hess, and my husband Jeff and I own NorCal Vape here in Reading. Along with us tonight is David Van Buren. He's the owner of Big City Vapor in Anderson and a few of our customers. And we are asking for your support in stopping government overreach, supporting the liberties and freedom of personal choice, and helping to save businesses and jobs in your district. And my husband and I have traveled twice to Washington, D.C. to meet with your staff, and we met with you in February to talk about the importance of this. The vaping industry has contributed approximately 20 small family-owned businesses in your district and over 150 jobs. And in the United States, there are approximately 20,000 vape shops, small businesses that are depending on your help. We ask that you make sure that the Cole Bishop rider remains in the ag spending bill coming up when you get back. And we also ask that you co-sponsor HR 1136 that will allow the innovative technology of vapor products to remain on the market past the next year and allow us to stay in business. We appreciate you being here to we appreciate you hearing our concerns, and we really hope that we can count on you.
Thank you.
My name is Marcus Harner, and I live, work, and vote in Reading. Thank you for being here. My comment is about children, being pro-life, a good Christian, and public lands. Being pro-life and a good Christian, honoring the sanctity of life, should be granted to our future unborn generations. We live to provide seeds for our children, and that's our priority. When it comes to public lands, what are our priorities, I ask? For the unborn generations, the ownership of public lands should stay in the hands of us all, not be privatized into the hands of very few. We entrust you, our elected officials, to protect these lands. The resources from the land can be used in a manner that protects them. We just have to be smart about it and have our priorities defined. For our children's children, be the steadfast pioneer and protector that Teddy Roosevelt was. Please.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good evening, Congressman. My name is Randy Compton. I'm a lifelong resident of District 1. In Nevada City, you cited decades of meteorological data that has not been tampered with as your primary source of information on human-caused climate change. Next, you stated, I don't believe CO2 is any more of a pollutant than is too much water. This statement is from the American Meteorological Society. It is clear from extensive scientific evidence that the dominant cause of rapid change in climate of the past half century is human-induced increases in the amount of atmospheric gases, including carbon dioxide, chlorofluorocarbons, methane, and nitrous oxide. This is World Meteorological Organization. Climate change is happening now and is not some distant future threat. The world is warming because human activities, and this is resulting in far-reaching and potentially irreversible impacts on our Earth, atmosphere, and oceans. Can you now provide us with the evidence you used to come to the conclusion that all these reputable organizations are using faked, manipulated, or inaccurate science in coming to their conclusions on human-caused global warming?
Thank you. Well, I disagree that the solution to carbon production is...
Ladies and gentlemen, the signs are for you to show that you agree or disagree, but you see, just for a second, do you see all these people right here? They all would like to ask a question. We have about 60 minutes left. Do the math. Your shouting is hurting these guys.
I disagree that we hamstring the American economy, American innovation by stopping what we do, as when we innovate better ways to do everything we do, whether it's production of electricity, when we produce better automobiles that run cleaner. I was just looking at a new truck today, runs really clean. If we're allowed to continue to develop and turn over these fleets, turn over these things, we will do things better than ever. But if we're stuck with having to use the technology of the past because we can't afford the regulations to get through it, we only hurt ourselves. Now, as far as some of the data, that it's American-caused CO2 and by human activity is a tiny part of whatever it is we're talking about. So I'm not going to shut us down. We've seen manipulations. That's fine. We've seen manipulation by federal agencies on what the actual climate temperatures are. They want to make their hockey stick. So We're going to agree to disagree on that. Thank you.
Folks, we're going to get started over here.
My name is Mary Spiegel. I've voted here in Shasta County, living in Redding for the past 50 years. I'm a nurse practitioner. I work at Shasta Community Health Center. And I want to speak to the Affordable Care Act. Since it has been enacted, our clinic has seen a tremendous number of new patients who have finally been able to get health care. These people have avoided taking care of their health, and now it is finally accessible to them. I have just realized and just read that President Trump, since he could not veto the Affordable Care Act, is now threatening to remove the subsidies for patients. That, to use President Trump's own word, would be disastrous.
My name is Paul Crafell from Cottonwood. I want to speak up for federal public lands because it is my understanding that you have voted several times to weaken their protection so that they may be more easily disposed of. My first experiences with public lands was tagging after my dad, hunting and fishing. Later, there were Boy Scout hikes. Later, years on as a National Park Ranger, during which many visitors came up and told me that this was one thing they did not mind paying their taxes for. My wife and I helped found Chrysalis Charter School, a K-8 science and nature school here in Shasta County. We take our students out into nature a lot. In fact, I'll be taking 10 of my middle schoolers on an overnight backpacking trip to Massacre Flats this Friday. We know that this is important because we have seen thousands of times the effect these experiences have on kids. Like one time we came to a stream. How do we get across, they asked. You have to find a way, which they did, and that made them feel so competent and one with the land. This is why these lands have value which cannot be measured in dollars. They are places that develop the exceptional virtues that we want in America. Self-reliance, initiative, resourcefulness. These virtues can't be taken for granted, they must be developed. If we dispose of our public lands, we are gradually disposing of opportunities for making our citizens strong and self-reliant. Please don't be part of that.
Congressman Doug LaMalfa, sir, I'm glad you're here, and I hope you come here more often. I do have two questions. They're both related really closely. I'll read them off. I would like to know what you, as a congressman, is going to do to make President Trump release his tax returns. And the related question is, do you support tax reform without President Trump releasing his tax returns?
Last part again.
The first part was, what are you?
Second part.
Do you support tax reform without President Trump releasing his tax returns?
Okay. The second part, that's an easy yes. One doesn't depend on the other, okay? We need to have tax reform. Tax reform is a myriad of things besides one person's returns, okay? So we need to do tax reform. The first half of the question, is that every one of us as federal elected officials or even candidates when you're running for election the first time are required to file pretty detailed reports through the Federal Elections Commission. President Trump has filed a 92-page document that you can read through. Have you read that document? Start there, because it lists a lot of stuff that actually feels pretty personal to a candidate, to an elected official. So The FEC form is intended to be something that actually is readable and understandable versus a pile of stuff that, he's a billionaire. He's got a ton of stuff. So for average people to make any heads or tails of it is going to be very difficult. Use the FEC form, and that should be adequate. And at the end of the day, there is some amount of privacy that's due to people.
Hey, folks, we're going to continue with the comments over here.
Nice to see you again, Senator, or Congressman, or whatever the hell you are these days. Hey, as a fellow rancher, I need to ask you, or not ask you a question, I need to make a comment. As when California decided after Trump was elected, which I voted for Trump, go Trump. I need to know when California, the bleeding heart liberals in California says, let's subside from the United States, let's be our own country. And then the dam failed, and California goes, oh, Governor Brown said, oh my God, we need your help, and we need it now, boy. Now, why didn't you just go, hey, Brown, bite this? That's all I got to say, partner. And give us our water back.
Thank you for the comment.
I'm Wayne Wilson. I live here in Reading. And Congressman, when you and I were children, we were taught by our parents and teachers that it's wrong to tell lies. Our president apparently never learned this lesson as a young man or as a child. He says things almost every day that are not true. Here's a partial list of hundreds of false things that he said since he's become president. Recently, the president said, quote, "We are sending an armada to North Korea." When the truth was that the aircraft carrier Carl Vinson was 3,500 miles to the south, headed to Australia for a military exercise. Other famous lies that Trump has said over since he's been president is claiming without proof that 3 to 5 million illegals voted for Hillary Clinton. We know that's not true. And also claiming that Obama wiretapped Trump's phones in Trump Tower. Okay? I'd like to, and of course all politicians misspeak and say things that aren't true. All presidents going back in history have said things that aren't true. But President Trump is in a category all by himself and being a terrible liar.
And we have a question over on our side.
Good evening, sir. My name is Madison McConnell, and I moved to Oak Run 3 years ago. President Obama's health care plan, the Affordable Care Act, has been installed for several years, during which the Republican Party has expressed their negative opinion of it. Republicans in Congress have voted many times to repeal it. What has the Republican leadership and you personally done in terms of a viable replacement? Do you feel Speaker Ryan's proposed health care plan was a viable replacement?
It's, first, the bill hasn't come to a vote yet, as you know. It's a work in progress, and it's a very, very complex issue. That's why it's having a level of difficulty, getting people to agree on what the best path forward is. These are taxpayer dollars. They're not Congress's dollars. They're the people's dollars that we're talking about. So we have to be good stewards of that. We have to be fair stewards of that. So with the Affordable Care Act, this hasn't just been a phenomenon since January 20th or November 8th. We've been receiving information from our constituents for 4 years saying this is killing us. Middle-income families, the average family, if they were promised a $2,500 reduction in savings, in costs through savings of their health insurance, they've seen a number upwards of 4,000 increase. they can't afford it. Small businesses that offer insurance to their employees are pulling back from that. So the people that are paying for it are being hurt by this, and if you have less people paying for it, then there's less people that are going to receive of the benefit that I think we all agree we should be working on, okay? So we're not looking to take stuff away from people like the accusations are. We want to make it work better, work farther for more people in an affordable way, because we truly have to be stewards of the taxpayers' money and respectful of that, okay? So it's not easy, and that's why we're hashing through it, and that's why when we can get productive input from folks, like, you know, we've had some raucous town halls, no doubt. Please, okay. At our Nevada County Town Hall, I actually got a point I was able to take back to Washington, 2 points I was able to take back to Washington on the health care bill that will help shape where the direction it's going to go. More positive on Medicaid and more positive on child health care. So when we're predicting. Thank you for your question.
Hey, folks, we're over here now for the comments.
My name is Alice Rogers. I'm here from Mount Shasta, California. You may wonder why your town halls have become such a big deal. We are not paid protesters, but constituents who are frightened by the actions that we see taking place in Washington and in states across this country. We see our rights and protections being ripped away, and the obvious conflicts of interest and corruption are so blatant that they cannot be ignored. We see this administration colluding with big business and hiring billionaires to steal our country from us. We are seeing uniquely unqualified and frankly criminal and bigoted people put into power. And we see you voting 100% lockstep with this administration. The dismantling of the EPA, which protects the environment, is plain scary, yet you brag of getting rid of job-killing regulations. But that is code to give corporations the freedom to do whatever they want, and we pay the price by losing safe water and air. You vote to let companies sell our private information to the highest bidder, and then you say you want to protect Trump's privacy. What about ours? You vote to let mentally ill people take...
Thank you for the comment. We'll go to our next one, please.
My name is John Letman, and I've lived here for 30 years, and I'm a disabled vet. And they've come a long way, but we need to do more for the vets. I'm a disabled vet, and I get $261 a month. I can't work. I've got a water district license, and I can't walk out and look, but at $261, what can I do? I think that's wrong.
Thank you. Okay. Appreciate it. And we will do better with VA. Okay.
Good evening. My name is Jean Hatch. I've lived in Palisadro almost 40 years, and I'm the developer and founder of a local charter school that's been in operation about 20 years. I've worked in special education for almost 40. It appears to me that people are making decisions in an education, especially in Washington, that don't seem to know very much about what they're making decisions about. And the truth is that we're at a place where you're talking about, or the Congress is talking about, getting rid of the United States Department of Ed, which is in fact protects and guards the rights of children with disabilities. And I am wanting to know if you are going to support the bill to get rid of the United States Department of Ed on December 31st, 2018.
Hey, that's not a bill that I'm very familiar with yet, and so you're helping me to educate on your positions on that and how that'll affect you, because rural education has got a bigger challenge than urban in this country, and so I think I don't believe in just sweeping it away. I would like to have more of the authority go back to the states and to the counties, to the local level. You talked about charter schools, okay? We want more of that power to be in your hands, not 3,000 miles away in Washington, D.C., okay? If the dollars are with you, if the issues that best reflected your school, your district, the kids you educate, I think you're going to be more empowered by that than us trying to decide it back there. But that doesn't mean we're closing it all the way down. It means we're going to reassign its, streamline its to more about providing standards for 50 states. I have to move. Thank you. Talk to Edmund.
Hi, Congressman. My name is Mike Basil. I've been a voter here in Reading for the last 20 years. I've been paying attention to the news quite a lot lately, and it seems pretty obvious that our country is under attack by the Russian intelligence services, interfering with our electoral process and apparently developing compromising information on quite a few elected and appointed officials. We need you to put your country over your party and support independent investigations and root out the Russian influence at the top level of our government and make sure that our country's elections can be fair, free, and keep America America.
Great. Hi, my name is Helen Clark, and first I want to thank your staff member, Aaron Ryan, who cut through the red tape at the VA to keep my father-in-law, a disabled Korean War veteran, from losing his in-home caregivers. Without them, he'd be in a nursing home right now rather than in our home. Second, my husband and I have been self-employed for 30 years and purchased our own health insurance until we were priced out of the market right before Obamacare passed. The first 4 years, Obamacare was very helpful to us. This last year, our income went up and we fell off the income rate cliff. We have been on the winning and losing end of Obamacare. The Trump plan you supported would have hurt us much more than Obamacare did. If it passes, we will have no insurance at all. I'm sorry I didn't call you earlier to tell you how great the plan was. Apparently you could have used that information. Either fix Obamacare or make a plan that doesn't throw us and 24 million other people off of health insurance. Just one second. Okay. My husband is a middle-class, blue-collar, white guy who voted for you and Trump. Neither of you will get his vote again if Trump lied and we lose our health care. Congressman, this is one time I do not want to have to tell my husband I told you so.
Good evening, Congressman. This is a two-part question. The two parts are related. I heard you give some straightforward and honest and direct answers this evening. I appreciate it. You seem like a real straight shooter. The country seems more divided than ever. President Trump has contributed to the divisions and exploited them in many ways, including by misrepresenting facts, as many others here have mentioned, in many ways, on everything from Russian election hacking to proven science. And my question for you is, what will you do to work with all members of Congress in a bipartisan way to keep our president honest and to hold him accountable and to bring our country, our nation together?
Well, the division seems to be coming without. People have to accept the results of elections. Go ahead. But we are a government of the people, if the people want to pull together instead of the 50-50 division we're seeing in the country. So what's going to be good long term? No perfect people get elected to office anywhere. I don't care who you are. Okay? And so the voters choose how they choose. I mean, you know, I'm not very happy with how things are going in California, okay, at all. And so, but we deal with it, okay? The result of the election is I accept what's going on in California election-wise, but it's our job to make our voices heard on how to make it, you know. I have a philosophy, I have a viewpoint that I run on, I was elected on, and if I change from that too much, you know, we take new information, we take new ideas and then integrate them, but if I'm breaking my word and what I ran on, then what do you have? So, is this, okay? Okay, thank you.
My name is Judy Champagne. I'm a mother, and I taught high school here in Reading for 34 years. Thank you. ICE is arresting the parents of children who are U.S. citizens because they were born here. I picture these small children coming home from school to empty houses. Children in schools are trying to learn while they're terrified that this may happen to their families. And families are living in a day-to-day state of terror. I have read about young people who have lived most of their lives here who are not familiar with the country of their birth and may not even speak the language, being deported and finding themselves alone in a strange land. An acquaintance asked me to share her story tonight. She is married to a U.S. citizen and her children are U.S. citizens. She's applied, but her paperwork hasn't gone through and she's terrified she'll be deported. This is not my America where people are living in terror. This is cruel and inhumane, and I hope that you will support citizenship or permanent green cards for children and parents of U.S. citizens and to young people who came here as children, please.
My name is Gary Popejoy, and I have no idea how much time. 1 minute. Congressman, I would urge you to oppose all riders in bills that would harm the environment and instead fund enforcement to take basic environmental protections. We've been waiting for you to do a town hall. If my wife were in a hospital, she'd be here too. We love the ACA.
It's 1 minute. Okay. I have dedicated my 31 years to service within the National Park Service as a park ranger. Congress began January 3rd by attempting to gut an independent ethics watchdog. That was stopped. You know that. The same Congress overturned a rule. Now Congress can give away or sell Americans' public lands for free and no compensation to any American citizens. And a 2.0 rule shuts out public voice in BLM planning stage. In January, Chavez and yourself and others introduced H.R. 621, a bill that would have directed BLM to sell 3.3 million acres of legally, federally owned land, the size of Connecticut. Okay, it's down there. Leave me alone. Bill was pulled. Today, in National Weeks, in Parks National, National Parks Antiquity Act was attacked. My question is, what are you going to do when the next 12 rules in the Antiquity Act, which are in Congress right now? Senate is the one that's dissembling.
Okay, minute's over. Go ahead.
I think the Antiquities Act needs to be revised so Congress has more say instead of all in the hands of one executive power on these lands. Our lands are not being properly managed by the agencies who've entrusted to them. That's why we have horrendous fires each year. That's why we see tremendous fires in our forest lands by the U.S. Forest Service does not manage them. And Bureau of Land Management not doing their jobs
My name is Kim Chamberlain. Thank you, Congressman, for being here. Okay, I am born and raised in South Korea. I want to bring it to you 2 comments. First of all, I've been a veterans advocate for nearly 30 years. And I would like to thank Congressman Doug LaMalfa for voting Blue Water Act, Agent Orange. This bill's been in the Congress for many years. Thank you for your vote on that. And the second thing is, I don't know how many of you been through the war, and I have. And my family still reside in South Korea, and they're not dictator Kim Jong-un. 3 generations has been taunting, threatening South Korean people for over 60-some years. You know what? I am so thankful we have a president guts enough to stand up to that dictator communism. And I want to just bring it to thank you, and he's going to strengthen our military, so therefore I appreciate him. Thank you.
It would be wonderful if you advocate for the United Nations to establish peace in the Middle East rather than us bombing when we disagree. The UN should intervene instead of individual countries, so there will be international agreement. I have 3 more points. Well, I'll skip that one. Internet privacy is being threatened. Hackers would have too much access to other people's privacy. I hope you are advocating for our protection. And also, the Environmental Protection Agency needs to be well-funded rather than decimated. I hope you are interested in removing toxics and global warming from our environment. We need to protect our grandchildren from extinction.
Okay, thank you. Hey, we're doing good. We're doing good. Thanks, everybody. All right.
Thanks for being here, Congressman. I want to say my name is Michelle Reed. I live in Weed, California. I'm a lifelong California Republican until 10 months ago. So one of the biggest issues facing America today is the need for affordable health care. I think we all agree with that. You support repealing the Affordable Care Act, which would cause 24 million people to lose coverage, and add billions of dollars to the profit lines of insurance companies who already count their profits by the billions. Recent polls show that nearly 3/4 of all Americans across party lines support a single-payer, Medicare-for-all health care system. This Medicare for All system was proposed in House Bill H.R. 676 on January 24th. A Medicare for All system would reduce the cost of health care in America by taking the profit out of health care by more than 60% across the board, solves many of our societal problems relating to drug abuse and mental health problems. H.R. 676 is affordable and necessary, and I'm wondering why you do not support this bill in spite of the fact that the majority of Americans and California First, including your own constituents, strongly support expanding Medicare to cover all Americans.
A bigger majority don't. I don't have a confidence in a federal government. I don't have confidence in a federal government that is up to a $20 trillion deficit, cannot manage veterans' health care, which is represented about 7 or 8% of the population, without long lines, fake lists, and all that, in order to then to manage 100% of people's health care. Can you imagine the choices you're going to have if they're managing all of it, since we already have, at best, 2 choices in rural California, in some places only 1 of insurance carriers? Can you imagine all doctors, all hospitals, all clinics having to run every transaction through the so-called single payer, which is you and me and everybody? That's who the single payer is. Can you imagine them trying to properly and efficiently make every payment for every hospital visit, clinic visit, doctor visit through one centralized location with the track record they have in VA, with Social Security, and with the $20 trillion debt? I do not have that confidence. I want to go back to a free market. Thank you.
Hello.
Folks, over here, we're going to keep moving on with the next comment.
You can watch my signs.
Hey, turn that microphone perpendicular and straight on. That gets the best. Thank you.
I am frightened by the power of corporate greed and corruption occurring in the Trump administration. I fear for my rights. I fear for my family's future. I fear for the very small planet on which I live. Trump is an authoritative dictator with a malignant, narcissistic personality. He is the perfect tool for greed and corruption to flourish in our country. Trump's policies promote corporate welfare and astounding unethical corporate behavior. He is strengthening corporate power with no regard to the Constitution of the United States or democracy or me. Trump is wrong. Democracy is not intended to be and will not work as a profit-making machine. Our Constitution was developed to provide protection from those who would pollute our lands and suppress its citizens. Democracy ensures workers and product safety. Democracy ensures health care and education and equality for all. Democracy ensures infrastructure, a clean environment, and national security. Democracy is not here to make Trump more money. I'm gonna stop, but I'm really resentful that religion and politics are still mixed. Thank you.
There's just so many comments, but I'm going to stick with the one about the global warming and how we don't affect the climate. So I have an experiment I'd like to give to everybody like yourself. Why don't you, next time you're doing your weed eater, is it the gas-operated weed eater? Yeah? Why don't you stick that right close to your face? And I want you to inhale all of those exhaust fumes coming out. And if you do that that experiment for a little while, and if after 35, 40 seconds of breathing in that carbon monoxide so closely to your face, if you're still standing, well then I'll go ahead with what you're saying. However, if you need to be resuscitated, by all means, please, let's sit down and have a common sense discussion about how humans are affecting this planet.
Hi, my name is Fran Patterson. I live in Voden, Bernie. I'm here with my 4 kids, so I didn't really have a chance to write something down. But I'm an immigrant to the U.S. I immigrated here 11 years ago and naturalized a few years ago. And thank you. And because I've gone through the immigration process myself, along with a lot of friends, and seen how it works, I'm pretty aware of how difficult it actually is for people to immigrate to the U.S. legally. My understanding is that you've opposed a lot of measures that allow people who are already here to find a legal path to be in this country. I would like you to elaborate on how people right now, like Jose and Maria from El Salvador or whatever, can come to the US legally, because my understanding is right now, unless you happen to fall in love with a US citizen, as I did, there are very, very few and hard opportunities to come here legally, while a lot of your ancestors were able to come here without all those hardships. Can you elaborate on how people actually are supposed to come here legally?
Great question. I appreciate that. We're a country about process. We're a country about laws. A country that has borders, right? So we want to have a legal immigration process. And I'll admit to you, just right straight out, what we have going with how long it takes for somebody to apply for citizenship, to get through a process, years, hiring attorneys, that doesn't cut it. I totally agree with that. I got to visit with some folks down in Orland some months ago, some really excited people that were going through the immigration citizenship process. They were taking the tests, and I saw shiny, smiley faces of those folks that were doing that. And that's the American way of doing this thing. And so we have things we need to fix about legal immigration in this country so that people that want to apply for citizenship, a work visa, a tourist visa, a student visa, a big part of our problem is approximately 40% of illegal immigrants that are here are overstayed visas. So we have work to do on this. But what we don't accept is those that break into the country. So what I want to achieve is that people want to apply legal. It's better for the immigrants, better for those, if they just want to come here and work, to have paperwork. They can't be taken advantage of by coyotes, the unspeakable things that happen to them, especially the women trying to come across the border, the inability for them to go back home and see their families if they wish to at the end of a whatever work season. I think we can have a much, and I can't understand why we can't get to this agreement in Congress, because let's have work permits for those who want to come here and work. They'll have specific documents to do that. We need them in agriculture, we need them in service industries. You know, so there's a right way to do this, and it's a much more compassionate way than having to sneak in and not be able to have the kind of status that they should. Now, so let's work to get there. I think we can find a lot of agreement on that, and we need to overcome the political nonsense in Washington to really get right down to what it is. And so when we're talking about the term dreamers, I sympathize for a kid that doesn't remember living in another country or has never lived there. The comment a while ago, if one parent is a citizen, then the lady that was the wife of that, we need to get that process. That's ridiculous. So let's get to the solution on this. Put the politics aside and not make it some manipulation, but actually serve people. That'd work.
Ready? Good evening, Doug. My name is Susan Pierce, and I am a U.S. Air Force veteran. My son is a U.S. Air Force veteran, and my youngest is in the United States Navy, serving in right now he's in the Black Sea, and he's training with a foreign government to protect this country. My statement is I would like to thank you and your staff for helping my oldest boy that took 3 years to get help in the VA, but I would like to ask you to continue to fight for our veterans to get the support that they need when they come home. These young men are being thrown on the streets with no help, or it takes years and years and years to help for these young men. And the biggest asset that we have is when we have a congressman in office that will support our young men and women coming out of the service to protect their rights to get that care that they need for the things that they saw overseas. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum. How are you doing, Congressman LaMalfa? My name is Stephen Pearson. I'm an American Muslim. I write for Contemporary Muslim. And a lot of people wanted me to tell you that, from the Muslim community that we're patriotic, we're doctors, engineers, and that we have a president that basically got elected off the demonization of Muslims in order to try to make people scared of us. And so now I have friends that have wives that they don't cover anymore. They're scared to go out in public. And violence against Muslims have actually risen over 700% according to FBI statistics. And they talk about the radical Islam, but they don't talk about that the real terrorists are a group called the Khawarij. And the Khawarij are the enemies of the Muslims, actually. I lived overseas. I've seen this firsthand, and I just want to let you know that we don't like living in fear because of the rhetoric of the person who got voted as president. Like, people are scared, and I'm actually have my wife and daughter overseas, and I'm actually scared to bring my wife and daughter here because of the threats that we receive just because, from Trump supporters, just because we're Muslim. And I just want to let you know that we as a community, we're actually scared, but we love our country, and I just want you to know that.
Hi, my name is Larry Jordan. I live in Oak Run, up in the hills up here. And I just have a pretty simple question.
A little tighter on that mic, please. Simple question.
Simple question. Do you think Congress should continue cost-sharing subsidies for Obamacare? Since this just came up in Congress, I believe today or maybe a month ago, that Trump is talking about not continuing the subsidies, therefore causing Obamacare to fail.
All right, for those on the lower end of the income scale, what we're working at is refundable tax credits that allow them to continue to receive which is very similar to the subsidy, only more accountability. So the objective is not to leave those folks behind. The objective is to have a system that works more smoothly for everyone, and again, addresses those folks that are paying the freight on this for more affordable insurance for them. That's why it's a very comprehensive piece of legislation. 3 parts we're looking at, and so our intention is not to have that not be available. So we want to have those folks at the low end of the income scale have that ability to have those dollars they need to be able to buy that health insurance. So we do care. We want to get to something that works for everybody.
Hey folks, we're going to start back over with comments.
Hello, Congressman LaMalfa. Thank you for coming here today to speak with all of us and for us to also address ourselves and hear each other on our issues. My name's Ruth Rhodes, and I've been residing in this county about 30 years and been voting out of Anderson. And I also work in the federal government as a postal service worker. I spent 20 years working in forestry, but the mill shut down and I ended up moving into federal service. And there, I and my coworkers served this community. This community stood really strong. As you well know, we had 22,000 signatures that we turned in, plus over 3,000 more than we got later, of people supporting the mill processing facility here in Reading. And you say that you also supported that. And we did maintain part of it. So we still have the incoming mail that we process for all the 960 zip codes, and we support this community and the 5 to 7 counties that we touch. We are in the Constitution, Section 8. We are one of the few agencies of the government that's in the Constitution and the power of Congress. And it's very simple. Congress has the power to establish post offices and post roads. And we are asking your support further to keep this going and keep our mail processing here in Reading. We would eventually like to regain our cancellation as Reading and not Sacramento. So in the meantime, what would happen is in PAEA in 2006, the biggest financial boondoggle that has happened to the Postal Service, we lost $5.5 billion a year to a fund, retiree medical, that no other agency or private industry does. So now, we've got a bill, because we have to attack it piecemeal, we can't do the whole thing at once, because we can't get anything through in 10 years, 2 HRs, HR 756 and HR 760, to try to take that funding, the $5.5 billion a year, get some money made on it, with some investment with 30% of it, and the other one is to, yes, the postal workers will have their own health care within the FEHB plans, and they will also belong to Medicare at 65, A, B, and D. So I'm going to ask you to support that, please.
Congressman, thank you for being here. My name is Patrick. This is my partner, Ronson. Together, we are the leaders of the Shasta County chapter of the International Alliance of Guardian Angels. We need you to know that the political environment has emboldened our criminals and is crippling our law enforcement. Mr. Basenko over here, I'm sure, can verify to you his staffing levels, his funding levels. If you take the time to speak to Chief Paoletti with the Reading Police Department, he will also verify these inadequate staffing levels and numbers. The Highway Patrol and all of the other law enforcement agencies that are out here are absolutely crippled, and our criminals are running amok in our community. The Guardian Angels would like to ask you, Mr. LaMalfa, for your support in our law enforcement agencies as well as the Guardian Angels. Thank you.
My name is Susan Murray. I live in Reading, been here about 40 years. My question is about Social Security. I feel very selfish asking this question because there's been a lot of comments and a lot of questions asked. My question is regarding Social Security as to the fact that we only got a 3% raise 2017 and it was taken away by Medicare. Do you see that President Trump or whoever's going to be in control of this would go ahead and give us a raise that we don't have Medicare taken away? I understand that through Social Security that how they make the raises is through tax, through like gas, as to how high the gas is going. It would be nice to be able to go ahead and get a raise and be able to use it because we have utilities going up. We have gasoline, especially in California. The governor is going ahead and raise it 13 cents per gallon, and it is be very difficult because utilities are going up, everything is going up, food's going up. Can somebody go ahead and do something about Medicare as to, or Social Security as to giving us a raise and being able to use it on these utilities and et cetera?
Okay, thank you on that. There's a lot of elements to that there. First of all, with this gas tax increase everybody's going to see, we won't see a set of that affecting however that does. And I'm not familiar with that, so I'm going to need more info on how that energy would be tied to Social Security and why it should be. That doesn't make a lot of sense. So the issue here is that Social Security and how if Medicare is rating that because of the ACA and finding dollars and pots of money everywhere, then that doesn't cut it either because Social Security was paid into by workers and it needs to be guaranteed. We've talked years ago about a lockbox. It shouldn't be tampered with at all. And the hundreds of billions that are owed to Social Security, we got to figure out how to pay it back as a federal government. Should have never been done. Now, how out of that trust fund we achieve COLA increases is a very difficult question because if there's not a way to pay for them, then long term Social Security, which is sometime in the 2030s, in pretty big trouble. So that's why when you see us trying to work on this issue, you got to be patient with us to say we're looking at the long term on this. Any Social Security reform you see is not intended to affect those that are already in it negatively or those that are about to be in it. We need to take a look at this a little longer term for those that are younger and have different adjustments for them to continue to pay into it, but also have the sustainability long term. And that might mean a higher age incrementally for receiving it as life expectancy goes on. We've got to have common sense things that are fair to those people that are in it, but also give some hope for a lot of folks that are younger that don't see them a chance of ever having received that because they're still paying in it. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Steve Hosler. I'm from Palisadro. I've been in healthcare administration for over 35 years, and the vast majority of people I work with in hospitals, clinics, and practitioners support the ACA and think it's really been a benefit to the healthcare in the community. And we want to see it fixed. It needs fixing, but we don't want to see it replaced. Secondly, we do have a single payer that works. It's called Medicare. Medicare for everybody would work. Another issue is Shasta County has one of the highest percentages of seniors in the state of California. We're about 19%. We're scheduled to go to about 24% by 2020. Many of the aspects of the Trump budget eliminate funding for many, many senior programs. We hope that doesn't happen. And finally, you talked earlier about supporting technology and innovation in transportation. My son works in a small innovative technology firm in San Jose. Many of their funds come from the EPA that are threatened to be cut. So we hope that doesn't happen either. Thank you.
Hello. My name is Mary Paiawati. I came down from Susanville with a group. The Hyde Amendment is a 40-year-old ban on federal funding for abortion. So defunding Planned Parenthood and for shifting the decision of funding to the states is defunding women's health, pap smears, breast exams, birth control, which prevents pregnancies. I did not have an unwanted pregnancy due to Planned Parenthood. I'm glad it was there. 60-something, 50-something years ago. I'm not that old. I'm also 40 years in the medical field as a professional with no health insurance in my retirement. I would not have health insurance if it wasn't for the Affordable Care Act. Fix it. Do improvements, but do not repeal and replace.
I'm hoping I get an addendum to my 1 minute because I'd just like to make a comment that on your website it said you would take one question for every comment. And there are many more people in the question.
Ma'am, it's eating into your time.
Okay, that's not cool. The Trump administration continues to appoint people like Jeff Sessions, John Gore, and now Candace Jackson and Roger Severino to positions charged with protecting civil rights. These individuals have collective ties to the Heritage Foundation, the DeVos Foundation, and have issued very public condemnations of existing LGBTQ and racial minority protections. These appointments are a clear indication that a religious referendum is being implemented to establish Christianity as the only acceptable religion in a nation founded on the principle of religious freedom. As the parent of an adult with a developmental disability, my question is this: how will you, as a legislator, use the principles of checks and balances to protect the civil and human rights of all Americans, regardless of disability, gender, sexual orientation, religion, or race? And how will you honor the intent of our founding fathers by ensuring that no administration can attempt to establish a national religion?
The First Amendment was written by those founders to have the state not establish or recognize a particular religion, but the freedom of religion of everybody. That's what it guarantees. So if people want to exercise that religion, they should be allowed to do so. That's what we agree on across this country. So if we had a prayer here tonight, there's a prayer at the beginning of every session of Congress in the legislature in Sacramento, then that's the prerogative of the people. So this isn't establishing or forcing any type of particular religion. That's what they broke away from England to do, is not have to be charged with a Okay, the rights of individuals, the individual liberties are guaranteed by the Constitution. As long as we hold to that, you know, we have civil rights legislation passed in the 60s, equal pay for women was part of that civil rights, as well as a follow-up legislation. So we, same work, same job, same seniority, same everything, you should get the same pay, right? So when we uphold the Constitution, when we have a law-abiding process of our courts, of our law enforcement officers, unlike the direction in California where they're trying to release everybody, then we will have more liberty and more protections for individuals, unlike what we're seeing going on in the state of California.
Congressman, thank you for coming out tonight. I know it's not your purview, but I'm expressing my concern about the appointment of Scott Pruitt to the head of the EPA. I know you are against government regulation with industry. We have a good example here in Shasta County of what happens in that situation. It's called Iron Mountain Mine. That's right. And if Scott Pruitt feels that the EPA's mission is mostly done, then I invite him and you to come sample the water flowing out of Iron Mountain Mine.
Thank you for coming. Hope to see you again soon. I am a disabled veteran. Veteran benefits are important to me. I'm pretty split in the room. I've been kind of doing this all night because some of you guys make valid points. Some I don't know what you're talking about. Some I agree with. But I think we all deserve to be heard. And I think it would behoove a lot of the people that disagree with him to wait and listen so you can rebut his argument. That young child that had a great question was interrupted with a bunch of adults. It's ridiculous. I could sit up here on my soapbox longer, but anyway, anyone that needs veterans services, there is an organization in Shasta County that does it. It's called the Shasta County Veterans Service Office. Go there. They will help you. It's free. Thank you, sir.
How we doing, Park? 7 p.m. Okay. One more question, 2 more comments, and we got to call it a night, okay?
Hello, my name is Tina Brown, and I've been working with seniors for more than 30 years. President Trump's fiscal year 2018 budget request to Congress proposes elimination of the Corporation for National and Community Service as part of a broader framework that increases funding for defense, national security, and other core functions of government without increasing the deficit. President Trump has also proposed cuts to offset supplemental appropriations for the balance of fiscal year 2017 for the period after the expiration of the current continuing resolution set to expire April 28th. Included in this package of offsets are $18 billion in cuts to non-defense discretionary programs, including national service programming as follows. We have these programs here in the North State and 5 counties is Foster Grandparent Program, Senior Companion Program, and the Retired Senior Volunteer Program. Senior Corps has 388 volunteers aged 55 years of age or older, serving over 2,000 elderly clients and or children, and many of those are also Meals on Wheels clients in the homes. On the annual basis, giving more than 157,000 hours annually through national service programs. Can we count on you, Congressman, to support our seniors through national service programs?
Thank you, thank you. Well, first, let me calm the storm a little bit on the budget. It's a proposal, it's nowhere near finished, and it will be revised greatly by Congress because that's why we have this process. You know, the President submits his, and also the House works on theirs, and the Senate works on theirs. So what you see today isn't going to be the same. Now, alluding to what a gentleman over there was talking about, let's take the Meals on Wheels program. The actual funding by the federal government is a tiny portion. Most of that comes from the state level. I believe we will restore that fully and be able to have that be one of the programs for seniors that isn't affected by what we see as this current proposal. So in your thoughtful input on that is appreciated as we work through this, because we have a budget to do in short term. We got to go back next week and hammer out a temporary spending program. Here we are up against the wall again on probably a continuing resolution, whatever appropriations bills that have been passed. Maybe we can put those through at the same time. Appropriations process is a lot better than what we call the CR, because that's done with a lot more input in committee and a lot more time, a lot more of it on TV than a CR. It has to be hurried to be done at the end. Nobody likes the CR process very much, but we'll have to get a temporary extension on government funding in order to get to the next phase on appropriations. So I can see some good things happening in that, and don't be concerned completely with how the budget looks right now. But thank you. All right. We're getting there. We're doing good. We're doing good. We got two comments here, and we got to give them back their school here.
Folks, we're over here with somebody who's been waiting in line for a comment.
My name is Shirley McGinnis, and I've lived in Shasta County for 30 years. And I am concerned about the budget proposals, especially the $9 billion in cuts to public education. We need to know that you're supporting public schools in Shasta County like this one here. Some of the cuts are going to reduce after-school privileges for students, and I know at this school, just recently, I saw a robotics program going on after school for students to increase their time getting extra programs. I'm also here to speak about keeping Medicare intact. Medicare benefits Americans who have paid for it throughout their working lives, including myself. It has a guaranteed level of coverage provided by government protections. Changing Medicare to vouchers or so-called premium support so seniors have to buy their own health insurance is flawed. I have one more thing to say. Health insurance companies from the private sector have fiduciary responsibilities to maximize profits, not to heal the sick.
Thank you. Thank you. All right.
Good
Bring
evening.
it home.
Good evening again, sir. I had a question over there about the Affordable Care Act, and there seemed to be a lot of disagreement and chaos in the crowd. And I just wanted to say that I hope that everyone here can understand that there is a need for civility in events such as this. This is an opportunity for us all to learn more about what's going on in our community and our government. And that's why I came here today, to learn more about what's going on. And I wanted to be more active in understanding what might affect me. And I just hope that everyone who made the choice and they chose the option to yell or shout insults even when there was a response or there was a question or there was a comment they didn't agree with. And you just need to have respect for your fellow people, because that's what we all are. We're all fellow people. You need to have respect for them. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your time, sir.
Well, everyone, I'm glad we can finish on such a nice positive here. But you know what? I'm going to take my hat off to you if I was wearing one and say you did great here tonight, Redding. So thank you. Thank you. So it makes me want to have more, and we will continue to have more. Thank you for coming tonight. Please travel safe, and we appreciate your attendance. God bless you.
I challenge you, somebody from your office, to cover those concerns and name, phone number, the trips to Mar-a-Lago, $53 million already. 17 trips. Yeah, well.